final layout, they've locked the camera. They've figured the camera out for real. So that can be a camera that an animator could animate to. And then they'll lay out all the props and sets so that it's like the proper geography for the animator to animate.
When you're saying blocking camera, is that like camera position?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the camera is, so let's say that it was, one of the nice things about CG is that you don't need to worry about rigs to move the camera, so it's a lot more easy to get creative camera moves. But what they still try to do is move cameras in physically plausible ways. They won't do, unless you're Peter Jackson, he's like notorious for like flying over half of Middle Earth in one shot. But normally, most CG directors try to stick to slightly more normal shots. And then, so, the eye, basically a traditional, like, back and forth, like, two shots, or one, like, A-B type shots, or two shots, or medium shots, kind of traditional film language. And so that stuff's all figured out by final layout, and all of the sets have been locked and laid out. And the characters have been dropped in, ready to go. So once it comes out of final layout, then it's ready to go into animation.
So the test render or the simulation aspect of things, if that's also a bottleneck, what type of rendering do you do at that stage?
Well, here, it depends on the studio, and it's becoming, a big studio is going to be much more structured like this. A small studio, this model may turn into a production model. It's more loosely defined in a smaller studio. In a bigger studio, it's probably going to be more strictly defined and departmentalized like this, because everybody's got their hands full just doing their job. Like this production modeler, the person who does this work, probably, the volume of models they have to produce for a show is probably pretty high. And so it's not just one person, it's, 5 or 6 or 7 or 10, depending on the show. I don't know how many people.
But is the same renderer that they use there compared to what the
typically
animators use?
Depending on the studio, yeah, they do heavily encourage them to use to drink the Kool-Aid of the rest of the pipeline. So it's the same sort of unified tool set. But at other places, like where my brother works, they're pretty cool about like this stuff, because it's kind of standalone. It doesn't really need to, strictly speaking, be the same stuff that everyone else uses. The end product of this process is a picture. It's not like a production-ready asset. It's nice if you can chuck that asset over the fence and have it work over here, but it's not, like, strictly speaking, part of the mindset of that process, right? These guys are basically illustrators that may happen to use 3D tools in the production of their illustrations. Whereas these people are producing production assets that are specifically meant to go into this pipeline. So it's a different mission. So hence they have different constraints in terms of what they are and are not allowed to use. So, and I say allowed because that's really pretty much how it feels in most of the pipelines. It's not like you could just it's not a bring your own device type of environment, you know what I mean? It's like not bring your own software kind of environment. They provide the tools and you work from that set of tools. Okay.
It's like the military, you follow orders of people.
Sometimes it feels like that. It's like you've got the most broken down ancient crap equipment, and you're like,
you're gonna love it, right?
Yeah, right. Better because that's all you got. And then other people say, "Oh, there's a poor craftsman that blames their tools." But like I can tell you, I've been in some pretty clunky pipelines. It's like you look at the state of the art of what's available in the off-the-shelf software, and you sort of in your mind you go, "Okay, my idealized pipeline of how I glue these parts together." And then you look at like what you've got in this broken down old like 1980s pipeline, and you're like, why are we still doing it this way? Literally, you could gut this thing, replace it with the new stuff, and even though there would be some disruption, the amount of capability you'd gain from that change would more than offset the hassle of the changeover. But they also have a lot of big studios have a not invented here syndrome that's extremely strong. So you're always going to be fighting that as well. Like DreamWorks' pipeline is still pretty much a proprietary pipeline. They have their proprietary pipeline like 2.5 or 2.0 now, and it's pretty amazing at present. But the previous incarnation was really pretty crufty. It desperately needed to be upgraded, so they finally got around to it. But yeah, so yeah, a lot of places have that kind of like older stuff. Okay, so now you've got these assets.